Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, welcome to our show. Good people, welcome. By the way, I don't want to discriminate bad people. Welcome to our show as well. Anyone who want to learn more about open source communities where you can spend time, to talk to each other. So let's do it, because today we have this topic, how you can grow your community, how you can go ahead. And I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Matteo, Collina. How are you?
Hi, Anatoly. Hi, hi everybody. I am so happy to be here, talking a little bit about open source and building open source, growing open source communities. I'm talking about open source communities versus open source projects. So then we can maybe talk a little bit about that later on.
Nice.
But yeah.
Matteo, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and tell me, do you have your uncle or father, Pierluigi Collina, because he's famous. But,
okay.
The first time I thought it's your relative, but you have a lot of hair. He doesn't have any hair.
Look, the similarities ends with the surname. He has I have the same surname of a very famous referee, probably one of the most famous referees in the world. He is, but it only ends with the surname. Okay. And by the way, we have and by the way, the referee is. Everybody asked this question to some extent. So and yes, it doesn't have hair. I have a lot of hair. I don't know. It's it means hill. Like my surname means hill. And that's it, really. So it's very common surname to some extent. So it's
okay, got it. Okay, let's talk about your experience, background, and why you decided to share with us about this topic. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my experiences. I have been building open source for the last 10 years, maybe. Probably a little bit longer. I've been building open source in a meaningful way, or in a way that matters to people, for the last 10 years. Before that, I was still building code and releasing it to the public, but nobody was really using it. So this was bad. Okay. So that's it, really. What have I done in those years? I have done Node. I've mostly done a lot of Node.js. Basically, I was able to jump into the Node.js bandwagon when it was taking off, or while it was taking off, something like that. And because of that, it has a massive impact on my career, and also on the let's call it I was something I wanted to achieve was to have an impact with my software. And right now, my software I wrote, it's on every developer laptop, essentially. Every developer machine has some software that I wrote. So I'm pretty much, I think I've accomplished that to some extent. But it's great. Okay, I have something like as part of my open source work, I am part of the Node.js Technical Steering Committee. It's a group of people that maintains Node.js. It's the leadership of the Node.js project. Then I created a web framework for Node.js called Fastify, which has been growing and doing very well. It has a very active community too. So we can talk a little bit about that. While Node.js I joined, Fastify, I created that community. So I am very happy to talk a little bit about that experience. And then I am right now the I'm board member of the OpenJS Foundation too. So, which is the foundation, then it's the umbrella foundation of Node.js, Webpack, ESLint, Electron, and a lot of Jest, Node-RED. I don't know. A lot of very popular projects are home. Fastify are homed. Oh, I forgot one of the most popular, probably the most popular one, jQuery too. So it's basically it's the umbrella of all the projects essentially. So
nice, love your experience. Okay, let's talk about your community. Can you tell how you grow community? What kind of methods do you use? And yeah,
the first problem is, so there is open source. And there is an open source project. Okay, so what does it mean? Sorry about that. What does it mean to release something as open source? It typically means taking your software and slapping a license on it. Okay, one of the approved open source licenses. You just slap the license, and your software is open source. Cool. Well, but that's an open source project. Okay, an open source community is something different. So the fundamental difference between like the project is essentially the code. Okay, you have you download an open source project, you download something, but the community are the people that maintain the code, and ultimately this is way more important for to grow and to it's way more important when you want to adopt a library, an open source library, a project, whatever, versus anything else, okay, versus just the code itself. So the community, let's talk a little bit about the community and my experience with Fastify. So if you want to start an open source project, you need to start thinking, what happens if the project gets very successful and it requires more of the time that I have available to maintain it? And this is the start with this problem. And you might ask, well, but it's a problem that you will need you will address when it's time. Unfortunately not. It's one of those problems that you need to start at the very beginning and think because it takes a long time to have multiple people maintaining the same software, unless it's a company product. But we'll talk about company products in a moment. But if you are building an open source project, you want to ensure that there is a variety of people that can maintain the project even if you're not available, or even if there are 10 bugs open per day and you can only cater to one per day or something like that. So it's a capacity problem. So basically, what happened for Fastify was, well, I started building it. It was a gargantuan effort. It's a gargantuan effort to build a new framework. And I started building it after I convinced somebody to build it with me, Thomas De La Vedo. And we started together building the thing, building Fastify. What was the community I really wanted to grow was a community of co-ownership. So there is this framework. It's open source. It's everybody's framework. It's not my framework or your framework. It's the framework of all the people using it. So if you're using it because you're using it and you're not paying for it, it's also yours. And it also means that you need to chip in and help with the maintenance. And it's actually very, you live in this house, the floor is dirty, you clean up the floor. Okay. Yeah. It's at this level of simplicity. So, and this means then whenever there is a bug or a feature that was missing, I kept asking the same question over and over again. Could you please send a pull request to fix this, please, please? And people were, oh no. And after a bit of time, they started saying yes because they wanted the thing fixed. I was not if I wrote that sentence, I will never ever fix those bugs. So they were like coming in, and if they wanted the bug fixed, they would contribute back the fix. And then after a bit of time, those people become regular contributors. And then I give them the commit bit, and then I add multiple maintainers. And this is automatically, I have created a big succession plan for myself and for the project. So, and this is something that a lot of projects fail to, and a lot of lead maintainers or creator fail to recognize. You need more maintainers, not that you need to create more. In order to have more maintainers, you need to design your community from the start and empower them to take over responsibilities from you from the very, very beginning, which also means that you need to relinquish some of the control that you have on the project and be proven wrong. So if you have certain ideas on how the project should go, but then the people that are helping you maintaining it don't really want to go into that direction, then you need to, step back and do what they want, or anyway, make sure that you that their voice is listened to, and because it's their project as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the strategy, but there's a lot of nuances in there. So yeah.
Yeah, got it. Valuable. Okay.
I can't hear you, Anatoly.
At all. You can hear me? I don't know why.
I can't hear you at all.
I don't know why.
Just a second.
Probably.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Might be me.
Yeah, okay. On your LinkedIn profile, I found that you consult the top brands in the world. Can you hear me? I can hear you well. I don't know why.
It's definitely me.
So I don't know. Guys, please write in the
now
comments.
I can hear you. Sorry. Can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
No worries about that.
My bad.
Okay, that's okay. On your LinkedIn profile, I found that you consult the top brands in the world. Can you tell more about that? How to cooperate
this
with top
is
brands?
Actually, it's an old bio that you got. Okay. I didn't have I update this. Where is written? It's
on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. I need to ask you a link on which profile section is it, because yes. Oh, this is old. Okay. I have not updated that in like a few years. So I'm actually going to update it now so that people that find it could find the right thing. So so I ended up I worked for 8 years and a half for a company called Nearform, which it's a professional services company based in Ireland but working across the globe. I left in June. After 8 years and a half, I left in June. The Nearform now is more than 300 people. So it's pretty much a success. I joined when we were 14. So it's been quite a hell of a ride for me, and I grow a lot in there. What happened afterwards? Well, I left Nearform and I founded a startup. So it's I am the co-founder of a company called Platformatic. We help people building building APIs and backend software in very little time or without friction. So we have very recently launched our cloud product called Platformatic Cloud. So you can check it out. It's currently private beta or something. They call it that way, at least.
Nice. Let's talk about API. For example, I have a client and he needs to unite his online shop with AliExpress. but it's hard. I don't know why it's hard, but many
It's
web
hard.
developers can't. I don't know why. So they usually promise we can, but after some time they can't. So can you tell how to fix such problems? When you take data, it's open data, AP data, but it's hard to implement on your website. What kind of mistakes can exist, when you take data from AliExpress or many other websites? Any
The
tips
major
about that?
problem with all these kind of things is how the integration is managed and the fact that the data can get out of sync very quickly. So you need to design a system where the true data, the true set of both data can be intermingled, but also kind of there is one that wins to some extent, in the sense of, in case of conflicts, like you can have or not either you have something on your inventory or you don't, and one of the two components needs to be the responsible for keeping that information. And a lot of the time when you do this kind of integration, most developers don't actually think of any of this. They just start throwing code at the problem and not thinking about it. It's not easy at all. So what we plan to, like, this is totally some problem in the that we would really love to improve with Platformatic in the future. So right now we don't have a specific solution for this kind of stuff, but there probably will probably be something in the future.
Okay, let's talk about your unique selling proposition. Can you tell what is the main difference between you and your competitors? What kind of advantages can you propose to your clients?
Yeah. So Platformatic, first of all, is an open source project. Okay, going back to growing open source community, getting open source done. It's an open source project, so you can download it and run it on your machine, and it will work like that on the cloud, no problem. So that's a starting point. Then the other major difference is all of Platformatic is written in Node.js. So, and it's customizable using Node.js. So you can take your JavaScript skill, your JavaScript code, and just use it within Platformatic, and it will just work. So there's no special adaptation or so on that needs to be done. It's not that you need to, in order to do this, you to do the integration. Oh, I need to create a serverless function and then I need to deploy this stuff. No, it's just a JavaScript file sitting on your folder, and you can just edit it on your on your VS Code editor, and it will just work. So yeah, that's all the competitors can do this right now. So and they're all very much monolith. They all require way more complex integration and way more complex setups to write custom code for your APIs. So what Platformatic does, essentially, we have these. There is this. So we have this. One of the tools that we have is called Platformatic DB. It takes a SQL database and you can map it to a REST or GraphQL endpoint, and then you can just use that for building your API. We also offer a lower level primitive called a Platformatic service that just add a bunch of needed stuff on top of Node.js that you will need it anyway, but it add them for you, so that you don't need to figure those things out. Some stuff from outloading of code and development to logging to what else? To logging, to metrics. I'm a big fan of Prometheus, for example, to a lot of other things like that. Okay, a lot of non-functional concerns. So and that simplifies all the as I said, creation of APIs.
Yeah, nice, love it. Okay, let's get back to open source.
Yay!
Can you tell how to invite participants, people to take part in these communities? Because many successful developers, people are busy now. They have no time to communicate. So your methods, how to invite them, and give any incentive to talk, to discuss some problem that probably have.
So the way it works, the way I've done it is, I have you create a project. So this was initially ideated by Rod Vag a long time ago, and basically it's a concept of an open source project, in where the double open stands for open governance. So essentially, whenever somebody start contributing enough to the project, you give them the commit bit, and then because they have the commit bit, they can just do what they want on the project, right? So and it creates a much more welcoming community. Then the role of the creator or lead maintainers becomes more of doing code reviews, doing releases, doing chores, more or less. But those guarantees the health of the project long term. So it's important work. It's important work.
Okay, got it. And how much time do you spend every day, on your community? I mean, like, because for, it's important for me to discuss some topics on communities, but
Yeah.
I'm busy, to find time.
Yeah.
So tell about your scheduling time to discuss with someone else.
It's I depends. Okay, Platformatic is open source, so a part of what we do is open source by nature. So I spend quite a bit of time doing those things, doing coding for Platformatic, but this is also work, right? It's my company and so on. But and then I spend probably a third of my time doing developer relations activities. So talks, podcast videos, these things that we are doing today, these interviews, those kind of stuff. Okay, everything, and for all those things, yeah. But typically, I do one every week or something. So on top of that, I also stream on Twitch. So you can find everything. You find everything essentially. You can find everything online and at my website nodeland.dev. And yeah, so basically marketing, and developer relations and things like that. Plus, then there is, let's say, business chores. Doing a startup, running a company, as some business chores that I need to do more or less every day, or every few days. I need to spend some time doing some business chores. Then there are as much as no meetings as possible. So essentially bring the meetings down to nothing if possible. Then some coding, typically, or debugging most of the time, or rubber ducking with some other team member for some of our cloud code. And then I would say more or less I work more or less about 10 hours a day, and spend at least 3 to 4 doing some open source stuff one way or another. So it's that's
Got it. Okay.
the gist. That's the gist of it.
Can you list common mistakes that people still do by opening communities, and your methods how to find a much better way? For example, probably you had mistakes. I always do mistakes. I think for me it's really hard to count how many times I made mistakes. But for me, it's like knowledge when you get new skills. Yeah. So list your mistakes and how you found a much better way.
The first mistake is holding hold control, and try to hold control of your projects. That's the first mistake. I've done that mistake in the past, and what you want really is onboarding new people as maintainers, essentially. Like you can do this alone. So just get others to help you with. This is probably the first one. The second one that I've seen a lot of companies specifically do is open source some components and expect that automatically people will come and use your stuff because you open sourced it. Nobody gives a damn about you releasing some open source code. You need to actually do it you need to actually go around and promote it. So, which goes down to conference talks, travel, podcasts, videos, YouTube, Twitch. You mentioned whatever, essentially.
Okay, let's talk about tips. Can you tell what it's a must-have today? Share a list of tips that you can provide if someone wanna open such communities.
You need to write contributing.md file, which explains the rule, how the process would be for people to become collaborators and for people to help you maintain the stuff. And be welcome to other people's opinion. If you want others to be involved, you need to empower them. And then people won't be empowered unless you give them power. Like that's the topic of empowering people. You need to give them the power to make those choices, to make those things. And they don't, people like typically maintainers say, oh, I created this. This is now my code and my responsibility alone. I'm not going to share this burden with you. Then fast forwards, I don't know, a few years, then they say, oh, I'm shutting down the project because I have no time. So much. I've seen this so many times. So many. It's just, and it's nonsense.
Yeah. Matteo, I have the final question. Let's imagine you started from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills. What will you do today? What will you do today about creating open source communities?
I will do what I'm doing right now. So with Platformatic, we have opened a Discord channel at the Discord server. So open a Discord server and do welcome people in there. And if somebody is having a problem using your software, go around and just help them and relentlessly help everybody that's using your software and is having trouble using it. After a bit of time, things will start getting better and better until it's, the word of mouth will eventually win.
Nice. Thank you, Matteo. It's a big pleasure to get on my show to learn from you. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
You can get me at using on Twitter at Matteo Collina or on Mastodon at mcollina@fastodon.org. But all those links, to be honest, are on my website called nodeland.dev. And I'm passing it in the chat, Anatoly, so you can link it. And then they can reach out whenever they want, essentially. And there are all my contact details in there. So, and I have a newsletter, so subscribe to that newsletter too.
Okay, guys, you can find all these links in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. I love all your valuable insights, guys. You need to follow Matteo. You can see a lot of value. Open his website. Listen us on Apple, and see you next time.
See you.